and Harold. I'm so glad to have you back, and I thought we'd start with politics. That okay with you?
Yeah, you may.
Okay, so will Joe relent and let someone else top the ticket for the Democrats?
I think we're in motion, whether he relents or whether he's pushed over the cliff. But it's just a matter of a few days.
Okay.
And he can say it's a medical problem for him. He's got COVID, he's sick. They can make it sound he's very sick. So we're going to see a big shift. Now, the big question is,
Oh,
will he stay in office um, while not
oh,
running, or will Kamala Harris become president? It seems to
interesting.
be a lot of aversion to that in the party, not said publicly. And she's not ready. She hasn't shown signs of preparing with a staff buildup for taking power. So that's an unknown. And it's going to be a free for all as to who the candidates are going to be. And who knows who's playing who. Obama is certainly going to have an influence uh, over the outcome. But right now, the momentum is with Trump. It's so big that we have to start thinking a likelihood we're coming to a Trump presidency.
Okay.
And, he hasn't changed a lot in the foreign exchange view. He likes a weak dollar. His new vice president candidate likes a weak dollar. Um, I don't think they have people around them who understand that would lead to high inflation. They just
Yeah.
don't, they're not that deep in thinking. All they're thinking about is sell more.
Exports. Yeah, they're thinking about exports being better with a
Right,
weaker dollar
right.
for the U.S.
Uh, no, they're definitely going to put up a lot more barriers to imports, whether they do it with tariffs only
Yeah.
or.
How do they create a weaker dollar just because they want one? How can they? I mean, yeah, okay, I want a weaker, stronger dollar. What do I do to execute it to make sure it manifests in the market? Do they really have that kind of control? I mean, there are a lot of people that would like to unseat the dollar
Um,
globally. How does someone like President Trump and VP Vance execute that strategy through the
mostly
Fed?
with, mostly with words because um, if the dollar starts to trend lower, it has huge implications for China and for the euro. Um, Trump doesn't think in terms of global reaction.
Right.
And it's very hard for the U.S. To move the dollar even a few points. Um, but what we have to foresee is more restriction on trade. And that's going to be a big problem for China because China, this third plenary meeting that was just finished, Xi Jinping is emphasizing you got to export more. And they can't
Okay.
depend solely on the demand of developing countries. They need more exports to the advanced economies. And we may be closing the door on them. So they're going to be forced to push the renminbi, the yuan lower. And whether they want to or not, they have no choice. So, and I think they'll have to go lower than they are thinking now. I mean, the present thinking in the markets is, they'll move to 750, 760.
Yeah.
Uh, but I think they're going to have to go much further than that. But when that happens, the dollar is not going to get weaker. So Now, the euro is a big unknown, by the way. Um, I mean, there's an illusion that somehow nothing's changed, but everything has changed. Um, France is falling apart. The relationship with Germany's government is weak. How are they going to sort out their budget problems and the penalties they're trying to impose on each other? I foresee euro weakening dramatically. Uh,
Okay.
and so
All right.
now,
So it's been
one
moving
thing that
sideways for the best part of a year and a half in a real tight range. Are you in the sub-parity camp, like a 98, 96 level for the euro?
uh,
Subpar period?
slow motion, it won't happen fast, but I'm very gloomy about the outlook for the European Union for
Wouldn't
most
the
of
outlook get worse if the euro actually strengthened and the dollar weakened? Wouldn't it even be tougher for Europe
yes,
if that happened?
yes.
Okay, because I think that's going to happen. Let me ask you this, Harold. Do you believe that eventually we're going to launch a central bank digital currency?
Uh, very interesting. Trump has been talking to Jamie Dimon for
Yeah, how
Turkey,
about that?
and,
Yeah.
and he started with Kevin Warsh, and not everybody knows Kevin, but Kevin Warsh for the Fed. Um, he is not to be underestimated. He's a really knowledgeable um, monetary man
Is he
who is,
pro central bank digital currency?
well, this is a question that I didn't answer your question. We don't know that yet,
Okay.
but he's, let's say, he will interact with knowledge with the big players. Uh, it's in the hands of the very biggest banks, and Trump will go with whatever the big banks want to do.
Okay. So, my narrative is this. Tell me if you think I'm wrong. That would be like how Bill O'Reilly used to say, "Oh, tell me if I'm wrong. Where am I wrong?" So, a weaker dollar, especially if it begins to be a trend and begins to be, like you said, import more inflation just nominally with a weaker dollar, it's going to take more dollars to buy anything. So, if it really gets weak to the fact that Americans consider it a big problem and a crisis, isn't that the best way to get citizens in the U.S. to embrace a central bank digital currency with the dollar in trouble and them saying, well, yeah, we're ready for any solution because the dollar is acting so bad? Um,
You may be right, but I'm not sure the dollar is going to be in trouble. I think
okay,
everybody else's currency is in worse shape. So
okay.
we have all these theories about Russia and China trying to elbow.
De-dollarization. Yeah.
It's the dollar is going to remain strong at
Okay.
least for another decade or two, if not much longer. So
Okay. All right. So,
now,
so
one thing I do want to mention, the yen. Everybody's looking at yen versus dollar back and forth, thinking about the bond market consequences. If the Chinese currency falls quite a bit, yen will have to take account because there's a lot of business between Japan and China. If the yen, if the yuan or the renminbi goes down a lot, um, the Bank of Japan and the Ministry of Finance in Japan will let the yen weaken. So yen you can't look at in the abstract. It depends on China.
interesting. All right. So, China definitely did not come off the way the yen came off because they didn't intervene with cash. uh, uh, the Chinese, but I don't know how many billions were spent to get this move, to get this move, and if what you say in the yuan is a good correlation, then maybe we get another new high in U.S. dollar yen, which would be another new low in U.S. dollar yen. Is that what
Yeah,
you're thinking is going to happen? The yen has not bottomed out yet, and in USD Japanese yen terms, it hasn't peaked yet. So you think there's more left to the trend that we've been in for forever? All right, it seems like it's been forever.
yeah.
It's been a
Well,
long
Dale,
time.
let me take you up on another issue, and that is Ukraine. If Trump takes over, he'll cut a deal on the Ukraine in a jiffy. And what we're going to see, surprise everybody, we're going to see Trump and Putin having a big hug. I mean, it will be said to be a beginning of a new era. But stop for a minute and think about it. The deal, if there's a deal on Ukraine, Ukraine will keep what it has, but it
Yeah,
will be permanently less size than it used to be. It will not ever be, well, ever is forever, but
yeah,
in our time will not be admitted to NATO. Um, and this is going to make Europe very nervous.
okay,
And
yeah, I'm
we're going
sure
to
it
see
should.
increasing divisions between the northern Europeans around the Baltic and the French and the Germans. Um, they're going to have trouble keeping their act together in Europe. I see Europe becoming very shaky, especially if the deal goes as I expect, where essentially it looks like Russia and the US are having a happy time together.
Okay. Well, they and then the adversarial relationship that happened towards the end of the first Trump term
Yeah,
of the China virus, China this, China that. The focus of tension shifts to the Pacific with China, and Europe's on its own.
yeah. The people that I expect to come in to the Trump administration on foreign policy are basically serious China hawks.
Okay.
I mean, I see.
Will Navarro be part of it after he gets out of jail?
He's a fringe player,
Yeah,
um,
fringe. Okay.
but but
Pompeo is not a fringe player, is he?
no, but Congressman Gallagher is now out there, not in Congress anymore. But he was the leader of the congressional bipartisan committee on making more restrictions on China. I think you'd very likely to see him in one of the top jobs. I think he'll be the driver. He's a former Marine. He's a real tough guy. He really knows China. Uh, he, he's going to come out like a Marine.
Okay.
We're going to deal with this.
All right. Let me ask you this. I don't know what the news was, but there were lots of stories about tensions being ramped up with China. I don't know if it's what Biden did about technology or chips the other day, but a lot of trading desks were talking about an invasion of Taiwan. I've read that the best time for an amphibious assault, weather-wise, in the Taiwan Straits or rough seas, one of the best times is October. And is it possible that the October surprise is not salacious, but geo coming from China? Is it possible they can make a move before the election when the waters are most friendly for them to pull an amphibious assault?
Uh, maybe, but I think our Navy has been preparing um, an explanation of how hard it will be for China. We talked about um, a, a hellhole that the Chinese would have to go through with the firepower of the U.S. being highly concentrated. At this time, China is not economically really strong. If they have an encounter with the U.S. and it's real bloody and they lose a lot of manpower, especially young men.
Well, they don't have women to marry anyway. What are they going to do with them?
Well,
Right? I mean, they can't find a
that,
wife
that's
because of the
true.
one-child policy,
Yeah,
right?
that's true.
Okay. All right. So that's a long shot. But let me ask you this as a student of history, that sometimes it's when nations are in trouble that they make aggressive moves to, because the economy is bad, they turn up the nationalism dial and distract people from the fact that they only have a half a bowl of rice.
Yeah, it's possible, but I think China is in so much trouble economically that it's going to be increasingly difficult to
Okay.
go on an adventure abroad when they are having an internal dynamic that is really bad for average working people, especially young people. You got the unemployment level for under 30 years old is huge. And
So
so,
that explains the big immigration of Chinese coming through the southern border, people that were wanted conspiracy theories is that, they were Chinese plants coming in
yeah,
here waiting for a signal. They're leaving because of repression and economic reasons.
yeah, for young people, there's no future in China right now. So, the U.S., there's a lot of affection for the U.S. among young people. The technology um, that applies not only in business, entertainment, everything. So, yeah, I mean, it's not surprising Chinese want to leave there and come here. And that's
Okay.
not going away.
Okay. Why don't we turn our matters to the financial markets, and what's the big thing that you're paying attention to? When I know you've been long-term negative bonds, you still feel that way?
Uh, no, um, we
Okay.
have a horrendous problem with the fiscal deficit, and it's going to get bigger. Whoever becomes president, whether it's Biden or
So the
somebody else,
bonds are still a sell, right?
at this time, yes, but pretty soon, once we begin to see the outlines of how they're going to deal with the deficit, I believe we're going to see the longer duration bonds. Yes, they're a sell. Uh, the the yields are going to start rising, so the bonds are going to be falling. So they're not a
Okay.
place to buy into. They're a place to short into.
Okay. And some of the parabolic moves in the Magnificent Seven, and in particular Nvidia, have given up some ground lately. Here's the Nasdaq.
Yeah,
Um,
there's a
we're
big
going to close.
rotation now. That
Look,
rotation is not over. That's going to continue. I can see the Magnificent Seven coming down a long, long way. And, the small caps slowly um, rectifying the imbalance. Um,
okay. All right. Do you think that's going to be enough to save the day for the averages? Because I'm a proponent of what takes you up can also take you down. So it was really the Mag 7 that led the way for years
yep.
without breadth expanding. So maybe that's a hook. Now that the market could broaden out, but the averages could take a hit
Yeah,
because they're heavily weighted.
personally, yes. I work with a lot of fund managers around the world, and the smart thinkers I talk to, they're expecting a really deep contraction among the Magnificent Seven.
Okay. All right. Well, from their lips, that's one of my biggest positions. So, okay. Anything else that you're paying attention to? You have a view on gold. I mean, gold's been a star performer, and it finally started to give up the ghost this week. In fact, after making a new high, looks like a reversal. Silver, which everyone writes silver squeeze, silver squeeze. Well, the squeeze is off for now. You have a view on commodities and inflation and
Not at this time. And inflation,
okay,
yeah. Well, at this time, we've got a few months of uncertainty leading up to a new administration.
okay.
And
How about the oil market? Would it be, even though it looks like Trump has a commanding lead, just to seal the deal to generate some higher energy prices to squeeze the consumer even more and be willing to, if you're an independent voter or you're not happy with the Democratic choice, vote for Trump because of drill baby drill?
well, he's no, he'll want to build up again, rebuild, if you want to call it that, momentum in U.S. generated energy. So, build more pipes,
Yeah,
drill more oil and gas. And personally, I think that makes sense anyway.
yeah.
But the I think with the Middle East, he'll cut some kind of deal with the Saudis um, that is favorable from the U.S. point of view.
Okay, how's he going to end the Gaza conflict? Is there going to be, is he going to force Benny to accept a two-state solution? How's he going to stop that in the Middle East?
That's we'll see. Um, he is very interactive with the Israeli community, meaning the political dynamics in Israel as well as in the U.S. So he's not going to go against that power structure. Um,
Okay.
so there'll be fatalities like Netanyahu, but it's a very we're not going to see a quick solution to two states. Um, and too many people are focused on that. We are next going to see almost certainly an outbreak between Israel and Hezbollah, and
Okay.
that's going to distract attention, and because it means a confrontation with Iran.
Yeah,
And
and he's an Iran hawk,
yeah,
right? I mean,
yeah,
he did not release any of their funds.
that's right.
He's criticizing
Yeah,
Biden administration for doing so,
yeah.
and that's a cause for what happened in Israel in October. Is it possible that a Trump presidency and hard right-wing Israeli government may finally decide it's instead of having wars with the proxies to finally go after Iran?
I wouldn't rule that out. And it may be done in a variety of ways because Iran, they don't necessarily have to damage Iran within its borders. They can do a lot of damage by taking out a lot of the Iran Revolutionary Guards who are operating all around the region. Um, yeah, I wouldn't rule that out.
Okay,
Um,
to me, when you say you wouldn't rule it out, it's a probable possible situation. Well, Iran could cause some havoc to get this oil to pop if they do something in the Strait of
yep,
Hormuz, right?
yep.
Okay, this is just kind of a wild card. Everyone's taking it for granted that there will be an election.
Yep.
Okay, and if Trump had been taken out, there probably be martial law right now. Is it possible that we have a hard time pulling off an election? And could it be that perhaps a war could, say we were in the state of war with Iran or another country, a regional conflict, uh, not necessarily World War III, that the elections could be postponed?
Uh, I don't see that.
Okay,
Um, we're on track.
okay,
The only thing that can happen that's a surprise is if the confusion con- continues and we go to the polls and it turns out that RFK comes up with enough votes to block
both.
270 for either the Democrat or the Republican. In that case, the decision is going to go to the House next year. So
Okay.
don't rule
Before
that
it
out.
changes, before the election results, before it changes. The House, made up of the balance it has now, will make the decision.
If it goes to a contingent election, it'll be the House of next year that
Okay.
decides.
Okay. The new reps, the new
Yes.
representatives.
Yep.
So that would mean we wouldn't know who was president through at least January, February.
January, February.
Well, and what do you think the effect on the markets would be?
Confusion,
Okay.
volatility,
Oh,
worry. Everybody's going to be worried. I don't know, but
all right. Here's volatility, Harold. And I know that, and you and Nick write a great letter. I want to get the plug in right now. Okay. It's prolific, all the information that comes. I know you mainly send that out to institutional people. Can retail people get your writings?
yeah, we do too.
Yeah.
We every day do a market analysis every working day,
Yes.
and it's having considerable influence among what I would call the heavy, the heavy hitters. And but every day we also I turn out my political analysis developments around the world. The what's happening with in Myanmar because the leader is in ill health. All of this is very important to understanding what's taking place. And with the politics, I moved back to Washington and I'm back in the middle of what goes on. So I feel I'm about as capable to understand the games now as I was years ago. To me, it's in my old haunts when I worked for several presidents.
Yeah. Check this out. And it comes out how many times a week, both of them?
And every day that the markets are open.
Every day. Okay. And look at this, everyone. So see if you could get your hands on it. Okay.
We, we,
It's
we
Harold and
make it
Nick.
available through Shopify, but we often post some notes
Oh,
about it and
okay.
have a
And, and you could follow Harold on X at Hal's Rethink.
yeah.
And Harold, what a great, I'm really always a pleasure. The half an hour flies every time I talk to you. And what's nice for someone who's hosting you is they can ask you anything, and you usually have a pretty good answer. It's possible, or it's probable, or I don't think so. You do, you're not like, well, it could happen unless that happens, then it won't happen unless it happens. Have you ever heard analysis like that?
Yeah.
It could happen, but if it doesn't, it means it won't happen, but maybe
Yeah.
later on it will happen
Well,
if
I've
this
been
doesn't
doing,
happen. Huh?
ever since I left the government years back, I've been doing what I would call uh, foreseeing what's coming. And I've been really right about almost all these developments, the deterioration of Germany's industrial capability. I mean, that was years ahead seeing that developing. Um,
Yeah.
the weakening of China, um, you know, long before all the recent doubts
Yeah.
about China, I was arguing the corner had been turned. So um, it's a lifetime of experience dealing with these issues. And I'm having fun now being back in Washington, seeing how it all plays out. I know some of the players on both sides.
Nice,
I'm not
Harold.
very optimistic about the quality of the people on the Democratic side right now.
Yeah.
But Trump has some pretty serious players that he's thinking of bringing in. So he might surprise everybody with competence.
Okay. Well, right now, this chart right here, I think is the most important chart on the board. And all of this means sanguine, everything's okay, nothing's wrong, I'm complacent, everything's okay, everything's okay. And there are huge funds that sell volatility, and they've been making a fortune for years because every time vol pops, they just short vol. And, I mean, we could go back even longer, take a look at a monthly, and that goes back to 2020, see what Vol did during COVID. But they've been making a fortune. There are even mutual funds, ETFs that people buy, that their whole strategy is to sell Vol. And I
Yep,
think this is an accident waiting to happen,
yep,
especially if we get through 20. That people, it's like they picked up quarters off the sidewalk for years, Harold, but they're not going to hear the steamroller come
yep.
until. Do you agree with an increase in volatility coming?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And the internal dynamics for the U.S. market. I mean, the private equity and
Yeah.
private capital area is really vulnerable.
Yeah.
Um, and that's going to be a big shakeout with some really big firms.
Yeah.
Um, and we're going to see turmoil among sectors. Uh, and, maybe BlackRock can ride it out because they're so big, but and they may be the ones who really put the feet down and say, this is what we're going to do about digital currencies. They're big enough to dominate
Okay.
the decision.
All right. Well, they went into Bitcoin maybe for that reason.
Mm.
So Larry Fink is really the president of the United States,
Um, in a way, yes.
the economic czar of the
Yep,
United States.
yep,
All right. Well, we have to get Larry to puke up all the homes he bought from people who were losing them in '08,
yep.
so he can help relieve the housing shortage. He,
Yep,
he's renting these houses back to people who lost them and
yep.
making a fortune goosing their rates. So I'm not a Larry Fink fan. I'd like to see him taste a little bit about what most Americans are feeling, and that would take losses for a guy like that to feel
Yep.
something. All right. So you like Larry Fink?
No.
Okay. Well, then we're on the same team, Harold. So tell them to get rid of all that residential housing so people have a place to
Yeah.
live again.
Look, going back to 2008, 9,
Yeah.
when we saved the banks, all
Yeah.
along I thought we should not have tried to save the banks. We
Right.
should have saved the homeowners and forced the banks to write down the losses, but we
Yeah.
didn't.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it was great seeing you, buddy, and even better talking to you.
Well, good to talk to you again. And
All right.
now that I've got my technical structure here fixed up,
Yeah.
we,
Thank you, Pippa.
yeah,
And Harold, have a great summer. We'll get back together before the elections in the fall to see how things are
well,
shaping up with
I'm
your
having
work.
fun with Pippa here
Uh,
because
hey, Pippa.
Hey.
Yeah.
she's
So,
at the
you
pump.
know, you're a good dad, and I could tell that because your daughter's there for you on you know, that this was important to you.
That's
And so
right.
you're a good dad, and that's why you have a great daughter. It's because of what you did. And that's a great picture of you two together. I wish I could take a snapshot. But anyway,
I'm
you
glad you're
guys
having fun.
enjoy your summer. Pippa, maybe one day you and I could do one of these together. And
Definitely. We'll chat.
all right. And enjoy. And I'll talk to you in October, Harold.
Okay.
All right. Harold Malmgren, one of my favorite guests to talk to about everything on the planet, and even more than that. So that's a wrap, everyone. Hope you enjoyed it. It's on tape, videoed, and looks like the market is not doing that much. So everyone, I hope you have a great weekend, and I'll be seeing you guys on Monday. All right. Don't just count your pips. What are you supposed to count? Write it out for me. Not just your pips. Hi, Sinatra. That's right. Count those. You can't be depressed and grateful simultaneously. I've tried it. It's impossible. Thank you, George. See you guys. Adios.
Hey traders, this is Blake Morrow with ForexAnalytix. Thanks for stopping by our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like these videos, share them, and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of the content that we provide here for free. Thanks for stopping by. I'll see you in the next video.